The interesting thing about being a political cartoonist is that my job is not to make you laugh. My job is to make you think, using humor, using caricature, but using them as vehicles for a message. Journalist, columnist, satirist. But I tell you what, we also are. We're artists, right? We have to use all the skills of an artist to deliver our satiric commentaries. We use design, composition, and even calligraphy. All right, so a lot of people ask me, okay, where do you get your ideas from, okay? So I'm going to show you a sample here of a cartoon that I did recently for The Economist. I'm going to take you from the beginning all the way to when it was published, okay? So this backstory is this. The Economist is doing a lead article about taxing the rich. They think, you know, we should raise the taxes in the United States and in the UK on rich people a little bit until we get out of our debt, you know, serious debt problem. They think that a short-term version is okay. So they turn to me and they say, Cal, do you have any ideas? I go, you know, I think I do. In fact, I'm thinking fox hunting. Fox hunting, that's a good kind of rich person's metaphor. But how about instead of having people chasing foxes, how about politicians chasing rich people? So here's their first sketch. You'll see it's really clear here. That's the first sketch, okay? Now my first sketches are very hieroglyphic. I'm just trying to map things out, and the next one's clear. So anyways, I'm beginning to map out the shapes and the sizes and the composition, okay? So the third sketch, you can now see it's coming to life a little bit more. You can see the shapes and the people coming into play, and every sketch I do improves and refines all along the way. Once I establish the sketch drawing, now I'm working on the color, I'm working separately on the caricatures, trying to get everything worked out right. And eventually, when you see the final artwork, it looks like this. Okay, and you can see the characters there, the lovely dogs, the poor people with their bags of money being chased, and all that. And when it finally appeared on the cover, it looked like this, and this was the final piece. And all of this, from that first little sketch you saw to this, was 36 hours. Now, not all cartoons are funny. We all remember that day in 2001, September 11th, and that was a hard day for our nation. It was a turning point for the world, and it was a particular challenge to being a political cartoonist. Now, in my job, I live within two polarities. I got the political on one end, and I've got cartoon on the other. Political is serious, cartoon is funny. And every day, I plot myself in a different part of that spectrum according to the appropriateness of the subject matter to deliver my cartoons. And the weeks that followed 9/11, there was not a time for necessarily humor. Although I have to say, I think cartoonists help lead the way out of our gloom with our sort of sense of power in cartoons. Here we have our good friend Uncle Sam. He sees the beehive. It's Afghanistan. He wants to go after it. He's going after it, and uh-oh, what happens? Not so good, right? But then what happens? Oh, a little bit later, we got Iraq, okay? Well, now we're going to go after Iraq. We've got a bigger stick this time. And what happens? Oh, we have a bigger problem. And now let's fast forward to today, and we have Syria, and I think that we're going to treat it with a little more caution. So we have learned our lessons after about a decade. Now, it's also a point that I discovered over time that the caricatures are not just reflecting the important people of the news, but they can also be educational components where they're telling the readers who are the people, important people that you should know about. So someone like Nancy Pelosi, who everyone wouldn't necessarily recognize if she walked into the room, or Senator Reid of Nevada. You know, but these are important people. If you put them in cartoons, and people say, oh, maybe I should know who these people are. And the idea is that if you do a good caricature that gets to the soul of someone, gets into their inner turmoil, it can be more revealing and more memorable than those kind of clownish portraits, you know, they do with big ears and funny noses. A good caricature is more true to life than reality itself.
It's a human business. Legacy we want to leave behind us.